Happy Sunday, campers. It's the Jaden Show. I'm Jaden Cornelious, and I am super excited about today's show. I hope you've had a good week. I've had a marvellous one, and it's just about to get even more marvellous, quite frankly, because I'm going back to London, England, to meet comedy legend, the amazing Jeffrey Holland. I'm so excited to introduce him to you. But I think let's go and watch a few of his TV moments, shall we?
What are you doing shaving at this time of night, Spike?
I'm not shaving. This is anti-wrinkle cream.
What have you got against wrinkles?
I just want to retain my youthful appearance.
You should have started earlier. Besides, wrinkles give you character. Look at me.
Oh, you've got character, all right. Double chin, bags under your eyes, red nose. You're an example to us all.
What do you think, Ted? Well, it's better, but you should be red all over.
Why?
Because if you've been cooked, you'd be red. You must have reality, Spike. Think. If you want to get some more gravy in there, the campers will see you Brussels sprouts.
That's a girl.
Hello. You looking forward to the show?
That's a girl.
Yes, well, it's a rather special brand, actually.
That's a girl.
You silly old fool! I nearly ran you over. What do you want?
I want to know where is the aerodrome?
What aerodrome?
Where is the aerodrome? You heard what he said. Where is it?
You flipping foreigners, you're all balmy.
Don't take that term with me, my man.
Peace, man. Love. That as well.
You have trousers?
As far as the eye can see.
Then pant me, man.
Oh, get up! Will you? Now stop it! Oh! Will you stop it? Oh!
Well, I think it's funny.
Oh, aren't they nice? Don't you think they're absolutely ripping?
They're lovely, Miss Poppy.
Have you ever seen a girl wearing these?
Of course not.
Why, of course not.
Well, the fact is, I haven't had much experience of the opposite sex, and certainly not with young ladies of your class. Allow me to hold your hand just for a second.
No, Cecil.
Oh, please. Oh, that lovely fragrance. Is it lily of the valley?
Probably corned beef.
My goodness, it brings back some super special memories of a world that was way more fun, way more lovely, way more interesting, and way more comical, thanks to greats like Mr. Holland, who you're going to meet in a minute. But I'm afraid you're going to have to wait a couple of seconds more because it's time for a super quick Jaden Show commercial break. Are you ready, campers? Let's go and meet that's a really, really bad Welsh accent, but anyway, let's go and meet the Jaden Show's incredibly special guest, the most amazing Jeffrey Holland, everybody. Comedy legend, Jeffrey Holland. Welcome to the Jaden Show. How are you, sir?
Thank you, Jaden. More of a legend than a legend.
I've been called that myself on many occasions, unfortunately.
For asking. Nice to see you.
Lovely to see you. How are you doing?
All right, good. Yeah, good. Very happy I've got a book coming out, you know.
Yes, I know. I think I'll need to steal you for my other show very soon, actually, when you've finished your cup of tea and, you know, you've got another bit of a spare day. That'll be lovely. So tell me, I remember you because I was the biggest Heidi High fan on the planet and was just completely in love with Spike Dixon and and obviously Sue Pollard, just intensely amazing, both of you. How did it all start? I mean, going back to mini Master Holland, how did you kind of get into the whole kind of, because you are like, you've done film, TV, theatre, your CV is immense. How did it all start?
Well, it really started back in the amateur days when I was a teenager. Literally, I became an actor as a result of my raging hormones. Let me explain. I think
Please.
When I was about 16, I belonged to a very boring youth club. Me and my friend Peter, who is still my best friend to this very day, we used to go to this youth club every Sunday evening, and it was just getting so dreary for us lads. You know, we were 16, wanted to do a bit exciting. And he came one Sunday. He came up and he said, "I found this amateur dramatic society run by the co-op in town." He said it's for under 21s, which of course we were. And he said, "Well, will you come with me next Friday?" Every Friday evening. And I said, "What do you mean amateur? What's it? What do they do? What is it?" He said, "Well, they put plays on, they do readings." And I said, "What act? Act? You mean act?" You have to understand, when I was 15, 16, I was as tall as I am now.
Wow.
As Mike was. And I had Buddy Holly and bottle and glasses, big spotty face, big teeth, and no self-confidence at all, none whatsoever. And of course, the last thing on God's earth I ever thought I would end up doing, or ever do, in fact, was stand up in front of people and play silly buggers. But that was anathema to me. And then he said those fatal words, "The girls are very pretty." So I said, "What time do you want me?" And then that was all started, really, And I did go along there, and I met some nice girls, and we sat round, and I suddenly realised I could do this. I was getting laughs. We were doing a reading of a piece, and I was getting laughs, and something went click, something just went ping, in my head, and it sort of started from there, really, and I carried on with amateur dramatics, not just for the girls, but for the plays and for the fun, and moved from one amateur dramatic society to another, of which they have their own theatre in Walsall, my hometown of Walsall, and I'm patron of it now, which I'm very proud of. So, it all went from there, and then eventually I decided to go professional, went to drama school for 3 years, trained, and the rest is history, as they say. That's how it started, raging hormones.
That is I mean, when you said and everything went ping, I'm pleased you clarified what pinged, to be fair. So that's amazing. And obviously you've never looked back.
No, never looked back.
So how did you go from amateur dramatics to such like a cult classic to Heidi High? I mean, did that come pretty much, was that like a lucky jump that almost came straight away, or
I became an actor after I left drama school. I was lucky enough to get into repertory, which of course there is very little of these days now. Repertory theatres were, in every big city, big town, every theatre had a repertory company, and you did a play every few weeks. There used to be weekly reps back in the day, but mine was a 3-weekly rep. So we did a play for 3 weeks, and during the time we were playing it, you were rehearsing for the next play, so you had plenty of time. It wasn't a rush job like a weekly would have been. I don't know how they survived that. I really don't. But 3 weekly was hard enough.
But even three weekly is a bit of a stretch, really, as well, isn't it? That's quite quick.
I did everything there. I was there for about 5 years at the Belgrade Theatre in Coventry, and I started off as a walk-on, and I finished up as leading character man. So it worked for me. I learnt my trade there, literally, and I carried on working as best I could after that. And it was about 13 or 14 years into my struggling working life that I got married and had kids, and still lived in Coventry. I stayed in Coventry because it was, became my base then. And then I got the opportunity to audition for Jimmy Perry and David Croft for the Dad's Army stage show.
Okay.
And I went for this audition, and to cut a long story short, I got the job, and I never looked back. It was wonderful. Jimmy and David, they took to me. I made them laugh at the audition, which was nice. It's an audition I didn't want to go to because I was doing something I really enjoyed. I didn't want to go to this audition.
Wow.
It was a day that changed my life, and I didn't want to be there. Isn't that funny?
That's sometimes the way it happens, though, right?
It certainly happened to me that way. And of course, doing the Dad's Army stage show was a wonderful thing. I was in the ensemble. All the girls were dressed as the reserved occupations of the Second World War. I was a fireman. There was a policeman. There was a bus conductress. There was a nurse, a land girl, a Bevan boy. All the reserved occupations. And I understudied Pike and Walker.
Okay.
And when we did the tour, that was in 75, and we did a tour in early 76 around the UK, all the big theatres. It was mostly the TV cast. The only one who wasn't in it was John Lorry, who played Fraser, because he didn't want to do it for personal reasons. And he was replaced with a look-alike and sound-alike. And I understudied Walker, and then when we did the tour, Jimmy Perry asked me if I'd like to play Walker, because the guy who was playing it, Jimmy Beck, had already died 2 years before, so it was being played by a man called John Barden, who went on to EastEnders eventually. But he didn't want to do the tour because he had other stuff to do, so they asked me as the understudy, because I knew the part, to take it on. So I was thrilled to bits. Me, 29 years old, and playing Private Walker in Captain Mannering's platoon. I could not believe. It was very, very moving experience, to say the least. And as a result of that, I got to know Jimmy and David very well. And they appreciate what I did in the show, because I was running up and downstairs, changing costumes and coming back on to somebody else, as well as playing Walker and a dotty German as well, and all that stuff I did. So I guested for David and Jimmy in a couple of episodes of 8 Half Hot Mum. I even did an episode of the final series of Dad's Army on TV as well, which was wonderful. And a couple of Being Served as well for David, because he wrote that with Jeremy Lloyd, and The Shop. And of course, when Heidi High came up, when they wrote it in 1979, I got a phone call from Jimmy Perry asking me if I'd like to play Spike, because they wrote it with me in mind, which was wonderful.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. How do you think, I'm away from my country, I'm away from my language, I'm away from, my culture. So all I really have is my memories and my traditions. And so I spend a lot of time, obviously, going through YouTube and watching, some of the Dad's Army and Ain't Off Hot Mum, Meet the Gang, because the boys are here. Amazing, love it. So, and Heidi High and Keeping Up Appearances and One Foot in the Grave and Michael Barrymore's what was that one? I've been watching Michael Barrymore a lot recently. Some mothers do have them. So absolute classic, phenomenal writing, great comedy, and nothing like that is happening anymore. Why do you? How do you feel about the complete change in everything? Because we just don't produce anything that's that funny and that kind of good anymore.
It's a shame, because those days are gone, sadly. Back in the 90s, the mid-90s, I was doing a new series with David Croft called Oh, Dr. Beeching, which was set in the 1960s, at the time that the Beeching axe fell and all the little branch lines of the railways got closed down. And we were playing it in a little station as part of the time when the inevitable was about to happen. But we only did 2 series of that back in the mid-90s, because the BBC was changing. The world was changing.
Yeah.
no longer sitting down to watch the telly with Granny and the kids. It was a different world then, and the comedy world was going down the road of men behaving badly. Do you remember that?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Written, beautifully played by a lovely cast, but it was a different genre. It was more adult humour. And they used bad language, and there were influences in there. Serious double entendres, much heavier than David Croft ever came up with. And it was a different genre, and as I say, the world was changing, and people were sitting looking at tablets rather than looking at the telly. And it all went belly up, shall we say, really. And we don't have the writers anymore, and those that do attempt sitcoms now, for my money, make the big mistake of not doing it in front of a studio audience, which is, I think, essential to a TV sitcom, because they laugh out loud, it's recorded, and it helps the viewer at home to know what's funny. It's telling what's funny, but it helps to guide them through the piece.
Absolutely. And it's real, it's authentic. You can hear. It's not the same laughter in every single laugh that goes through the show. It's like you hear the old lady belly laughing at the back. And
are you familiar with Mrs. Brown's Boys?
Yes, of course.
Oh, of course. It's the one sitcom today that still uses a studio audience, and of course he exploits them as well, and he uses them, and he makes mistakes with the cameras, and the actors make mistakes, and of course they keep them in, and they have a good laugh as well, rather than sitting around the table having a good cry. And he's naughty like that, Brendan O'Carroll, but he's such a good performer. I love him.
Amazing. I was a bit of a fan of the Vicar of Dibley, and I was quite. That went really well, and the cast just. Bloody amazing, absolutely wonderful. Was that done in front of a live audience? Do you know?
Yes, it was. You could tell.
It was, yeah, because that had that different vibe altogether, completely.
Yeah,
amazing. How was it like? When obviously things were really significantly changing. Obviously, you're well known for your comedic roles. I mean, you're just hilariously funny. So, what happened to you during this time? Like, how did you feel? What was going on?
Well, I just get on with it, and I've done mostly since Dr. Beeching was axed, because it was. Most of my work's been in the live theatre. I've done an awful lot of theatre, and I've got a one-man show which I've been doing now for the last 10 years about Stan Laurel.
Okay, right, yeah.
And I've done that at the Edinburgh Festival to great success. I've sell out up there, and I've toured it around the country, and I've been doing that as well as other plays and other stuff. And Judy, my wife, we work together a lot as well in the theatre, which is smashing. So really, it's the theatre that's kept me going for the last 10 or 15 years.
That's amazing. So immense CV, comedy kind of changing, but you're doing your one-man show. You've done film, you've done TV, you've done your one-man show, you've done theatre. Do you have a preference? Which one did you enjoy getting into the most?
Oh, I think most actors will tell you they prefer the live theatre to anything else. I mean, TV's lovely, and if you make a mistake, you can do it again, usually, because they're usually recorded. Radio, of course, is brilliant because you don't have to learn it. You can stand there and read it, dressed as you like, because nobody can see. And but the theatre is special because you're out there in front of the audience, you're live, you're just you and them, it's a buzz you get from the audience, particularly with a comedy. You look forward to the laughter. It's never the same twice. You do different audience every night. You can say a funny line and you'll get a different reaction, a different set of timing, and it's there and you bounce off it. It's a spontaneous thing, and that's what's great about the live theatre. Although you're doing the same show yourself, you won't always do it the same. It depends on the reaction you get from the audience. So
everything hits somebody differently, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So live theatre is. I've had a lot of fun on TV. Make no mistake. I loved it. I've loved it. What I've done. Still, the shows have been wonderful. But the live theatre is where the heart is, I think.
What about straight acting roles? Do you find it very difficult not to be funny?
Oh no, not at all. Not when you've got a straight role, you play it. There aren't many places I go where I'm given the opportunity to play straight roles. There's a local theatre in Reading up the road called the Mill at Sonning, which is a dinner theatre, and every time I go there, I seem to be given a drama to do, which is nice because I enjoy stretching those muscles. They stretch them very often, and it's a good form of exercise, of acting exercise, really. So I enjoy that, but I'm known as comedy actor Jeffrey Holland, really. So that's my lot, and I'm happy with it.
Yeah, but it's nice to be known, quite frankly.
Indeed, it is. Yeah, but I get a chance every so often to do something dramatic. But again, going back to You Rang My Lord, my role as James Twelvetrees in that, the footman, was more or less a straight role within the comedy of the piece, because he was the biggest snob in the house, and he knew his place and expected everyone else to know theirs, and that was the essence of my work in that, which I loved. I absolutely adored playing that. It was my favourite show of all the ones I've ever done. Wow. David Croft, too, as a matter of fact. He always said that show was the cherry on his cake, because the production values were so high in that. It was really good quality stuff.
Right. Did you find it difficult, obviously being the talented man that you are, did you find it difficult, like with a role that was kind of, straight-ish, but within a comedic background, for you not to ad-lib a little bit? And was you allowed to ad-lib and kind of, did you have to stick to, that was it, that was your script and you don't move?
I ad-libbed, not with David Croft and Jimmy's scripts, because they were honed and toned and written, properly. You didn't need to. You did not need. And of course, as you're asking me, playing the straight roles, having the experience in comedy, it enabled me to get the timing right with the people who were talking around me who perhaps did have the funny lines, but I didn't. Maybe I said a straight line in response to them, which got a laugh, but I was able to allow for their laughter, and because of my experience in comedy, and it's a double-sided coin, really. So it came very useful.
Do you have anything that you've done that you miss the most? That you're like, that was just the thing. I mean, that was just the pinnacle of my career. They were the group that I worked with that were the most just wonderful. I mean, obviously you've had phenomenal experiences throughout your career, but is there anything in particular that you just kind of sit back and maybe sigh about in a really kind of, beautiful way, not in a bad way, but just like,
I didn't get gloomy or dreary about anything, but I did enjoy You Rang My Lord enormously, and I did miss it when it came to an end. Because as I say, the whole production was top quality, and as I say, 50 minutes long for a sitcom, that's something else. And it was really good quality stuff, marvellous set to work on. It was like working in a real house, fabulous costumes to wear. I used to get a backache at the end of the day, standing up straight all day long as a footman. And wonderful props, fabulous furniture, the costumes were amazing. So I do miss that one particularly, of all I did.
Do you stay in touch with your colleagues of past shows? Do you still do you remember that time on Heidi High when this happened? I mean, obviously in interviews, everything that you've done is going to be mentioned because that's our job, right? But do you kind of, I don't know, phone up or speak to someone that was kind of, you're still in contact from those shows and go, those were the days. Do you remember the time when?
Yeah, Sue Pollard and I are in touch all the time. She's got a show that she's doing, a one-woman show she's out on the road with. And when she can, she phones me and we keep in touch and talk about stuff. And she's written the foreword to my book. So that's coming out soon. And so Sue, we're in touch all the time, and a couple of the others too. David Webb of the Webb Twins, the two boys, the Yellowcoat boys. But I'll always be known as that bloke from Heidi High. Always, whatever else I've done, or whatever else I'll ever do in the future, that's what I'm known for. But as I say, You Rang My Lord was my personal favourite.
Okay, wow. So what's going on for Mr. Jeffrey Holland at the moment? What are you doing right now?
In the immediate few months, I've got the book coming out, And I've got several events coming up where I'm going to do some signings. And Robert Ross, who's helped me write the book, he's a comedy historian, probably the best the country has, and he's a mate, and we do a little show together anyway, a little chat show about my career. And he's helped me write the book, because what he doesn't know about comedy on the small and the large screen isn't worth knowing. And all the people about that I've worked with, he's been able to flesh out their careers in description form to cover up the stuff that I didn't know about in my chapters. When I mentioned them, he's covered it all up with their particular history. So it's been invaluable in that respect. So that's what we're doing. We're going around together doing book signings and little chats with people. That's going to be the next few months. Yeah.
That's amazing. What was it like to write the book? Because it's kind of like more about memory based and stuff like that, isn't it?
It is. It started at the beginning, and what did you do next? But we start in the book with Heidi High, Hody Ho, pause for audience reaction and all that, and then I talk about Heidi High for a good few pages before I go back to the beginning and stay when I was born and do my childhood and all the rest of it. So we start with what I'm known for, and then take it from there. And I've had some nice feedback from people who've already read it. Like Sue. Sue rang me the other day. She'd just read it and she was crying. And I said, well, what's up with it, Debbie? Why are you crying? She said, I just love what you just said about Shaney. Paul Shaney, what we all call him Shaney. I do a particularly graphic description of what happened when he died. When I managed to get to see him in the hospice the day before he died. And that was quite moving. And it reads just as movingly as it happened to me at the time. And she rang me up crying because she just read it. But I said, it was so special. And people have said it's a very good read. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, people will read it, will think the same.
I can't wait to read it myself. I'm very excited about that. And just how can they not be moved by someone who's touched so many lives, have been on our TV screens in one way, shape or form or another for a good couple of years, mate, quite frankly. Yeah. So and now like I said, I go on YouTube and I watch kind of reruns of comedies and stuff that I miss because they take me back to my youth and when life was a lot better, quite frankly. And I'm not the only viewer, so there are thousands, hundreds of thousands of viewers. So obviously people are still, because the stuff is still classic. So how can people not be touched by what you've written? I can't wait to read your book, and I'm really excited. If you come back and do a book read, that would be amazing, because that would just be incredible. So you're now author. Any more books on the horizon? Is this your one and only, or?
I enjoyed writing it so much that I've been thinking, should I have a crack at a novel, a work of fiction? I don't know whether I could write that kind of dialogue. It's very different to writing a narrative of what you've done yourself, which is factual and truthful. But to write a fantasy and create dialogue, I'm not sure I could do that. I'd have to have a crack at it and try, see if it would work.
I think it would be amazing. I think just the experience and the history you've had, I just think it will start to flow as soon as you do that, man.
Maybe. I hope you're right.
So are you still doing your one-man show now? Is it still something that's continuing and going on, or is it quieting down because you're concentrating more on being author Geoffrey Holland?
No, I'm tied up with the book at the moment, and I've been for pretty much the last year. I haven't done Mr. Hall for quite a few months now. So who knows? I might, get an opportunity to trot him out again early in the year. We'll see.
How did you deal with the whole COVID thing? Because obviously theatres were closing down. I mean, it just went crazy. How did you deal? Because I know personally, I've been a singer for 34 years. And the minute I wasn't able to sing, hence I created the Jaden Show, because I still needed to talk to people. I needed to hear English, and I wanted to entertain. So I started the Jaden Show. But what did you do through that time? Was it just like put your slippers on, make a cuppa and watch reruns on TV?
Pretty much, yeah. I sort of decided, I called it my semi-retirement. Well, it wasn't a definite retirement, but it was a semi-imposed retirement, really. I actually got to quite enjoy it. It was different, wasn't it? It was very different.
It was.
And,
I found it really quite interesting where, there were some famous people in there, billionaires in their mansions sobbing and sobbing that they've only been able to go in their pool and, and stuff like that, and I was just like, oh my goodness, like for me, it's been the nicest. I mean, obviously the whole COVID thing was bloody tragic and bloody awful. However, I think if you came out of it the same way as you went into it, you've wasted the most phenomenal opportunity of life, quite frankly, because, it was just a time to really reflect, sit back, decide what you're about, decide what you're doing, and then, either slippers and pipe and enjoy everything or create something new. And I don't mind it.
The book, but it wasn't until last year that I actually got down to writing it. But so many people took the opportunity to write a book during that time. You see people coming about, right, when did you write this? Oh, during lockdown. Everybody started doing things in lockdown. You're right, though. It's a good opportunity.
Quite a few of these shows, I've been obviously looking at and talking to loads of different artists on different levels. The majority have been kind of singers and musicians. And, they've got really well-polished stuff that they're releasing now. Like, you would have thought they'd been, like, a musician for 15, 20, 25 years. And 90% of them thought, well, couldn't go to work, so I bought, like, this, this audio recording equipment and just started playing around during COVID. And I'm like, oh, my goodness. And they were just obviously completely something within themselves that they should have probably tapped into 20 years ago, because they would have been masters now, but COVID brought out a lot of creativity, a lot of art. It was, On
the other hand, of course, he closed theatres and the whole of the theatre business went dark for 2 years. And it's only just now that people are actually having the courage to come out again and sit next to a stranger in a theatre, which they couldn't do it. The theatres just went dark, and everybody, there was so much money lost in the business.
That was really, it was a tragedy. I mean,
life, there was a loss of livelihood as well. So much, so, but
it was
on the mend.
And it was scary just to see how things can change in such a short space of time as well.
That's right. So many people were. So many people. I had a nephew who nearly died with, was on a ventilator in a hospital. He recovered, thank God, but it was touch and go at one point, and people didn't make it. It was a tragic time, really, from our point of view.
Yeah, no, completely. I saw 2 people in 9 months. My best friend and the guy that delivered the gas. The guy that delivered the gas came every 2 weeks. I saw him 1 week and then never saw him again because he died of COVID. And my best friend came around and didn't feel too good. Lucky he survived, but he had COVID. And I was like, oh my goodness, I live in the jungle in the arse end of Mexico with no friends. I spent all my life online because obviously I'm protecting myself. And the only 2 forms of communication I had in 9 months, one died and one was seriously ill with COVID. Crazy time. But thank goodness things are starting to return to normal. So when I was in London a few months ago, just seeing, wasn't quite the same. There was a different energy, a different vibe completely, but it was still, seeing people kind of queuing up for museums, and it was just like, oh, thank goodness it's starting to find its way back again. Yeah, so book promotion, this is your thing that you're doing at the moment.
Yeah. The book is called The First Rule of Comedy, which is a line that Ted Bovis used to use a lot in Heidi High to Spike. He said, come on, Spike, first rule of comedy, you must have reality. The first rule of comedy, pretty girls aren't funny. There were so many first rules of comedy. That's the title of the book. And tribute to David Croft, really. And all the other rules of comedy, of which there are many, have ended up being chapter titles through the book.
Okay. Love it. So, obviously, all the future happenings for Mr. Holland will be announced, I guess, on your social media platforms, right?
It should be. It should be. Yeah.
Fantastic. So, people can find you on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and your website, jeffreyholland.co.uk. Is that correct?
Yeah. And it should. If it's not on social media, it'll be on the website.
Perfect. Mr. H, I can't thank you enough. It's been a complete treat for me because I was, just a total fan. It was amazing. And also, and a new fan as well, because I've been rewatching you over the last 2 years, on and off, on keeping up with my Heidi highs on YouTube as well. So it's just been
still watchable.
And that's still great. Like, there's nothing, like, even my Mexican friends that speak really good English, they've been watching Heidi High and Ain't Half Hot Mum, and some mothers do have them, and they're laughing as well. Like, it's not something that's kind of was for back in the day. The thing, the series are still bloody incredibly written, still bloody funny, and even people whose language, the first language, isn't English, are laughing at the jokes, like, not because the audience is laughing, but laughing because they're finding it amusing. It's magical, absolutely magic, mate.
Thank you for telling me that.
Well, you were part of bringing magic into, and long may you continue, because we need that magic more now than ever, quite frankly.
Yes, you're right. Thank you very much.
Jeffrey Holland, thank you so much. We will be in touch. I really appreciate your time. If you heard my dogs barking, I really apologise for my dogs barking, but I do live in Mexico and on a mountain, and there must have been a pelican or something flying over that they decided to chase.
Okay. All right.
Jeffrey, thank you so much. You take care. Have a wonderful rest of your week.
Thank you, Jaden. Bye.
See you later, my friend. Bye-bye. Well, I am leaving the show and the week feeling incredibly blessed, incredibly lucky to be speaking to a man like that. An incredible actor, the best of British. What a legend he is. Jeffrey, thank you so much for being part of my show. I'm extremely grateful that you took the time to come and spend chatting with me. And you beautiful people at home, I'm also doubly grateful because you've allowed me and Jeffrey into your living room this Sunday. How amazing. And I'm so pleased you got to meet him. Such a cool guy. Please make sure you are following him on his social media platforms. And also, I really hope that you do go and check out his jeffreyholland.co.uk site as well, just to go and see what that man's about. And also, if you haven't already, you need to be getting that book. I cannot wait to read it. I am super excited. And hopefully he'll come back for a book show very, very soon. I will see you next week. I'm going to leave you with a bit of music. I'm going to leave you with me, actually. I'm going to leave you with me singing a song that I had written a few years ago called Discover the Gift. I hope you like it. It was filmed in my hometown in West London, not too far, actually, from Mr. Holland. But this is called Discover the Gift. This is Jaden Cornelious. I will see you next week on The Jaden Show. Take care. Bye-bye.
You don't have a plan, you don't feel it's right. Deep inside you have this need to bring your dreams alive. You're feeling alone, no one understands. You have so much to give, just need a helping hand. Taking that first step will lead to many more beside it. I am here with you now, to love you and to guide. Just trust the way you feel. See the beauty from inside. Allow yourself to be. Express all that you hide. When you discover the gift inside, love is a feeling you cannot hide. This is the truth between you and I. And all you feel when I am with you, love is the gift inside. Come take my hand, share exciting times. The future is sacred for you and I. When you discover the gift inside. With all that I am, and all that you are. Together we can shine brighter than any star. The world has beaten us down. Life had robbed our desires, but from the ashes like a phoenix we rose from the fire. Risking it all, our hearts have grown so close together. The whole world just stops and stares at this gift that you had shown. Never will you have to change. See the beauty from inside. Allow yourself to be. Express all that you hide. When you discover the gift inside, love is a feeling you cannot hide. This is the truth between you and I. And all you feel when I am with you, love is a gift inside. Come take my hand, share exciting times. The future is sacred for you and I. When you discover the gift inside. No one said life would be so easy, but if your eyes can find the beauty in every day, yeah, and when you smile, life looks amazing. Nothing compares to how this feels. When you discover the gift inside, love is a feeling you cannot hide. This is the truth between you and I. And all you feel when I am with you, love is the gift inside. Come take my hand, share exciting times. The future is sacred for you and I. When you discover the gift inside. When you discover the gift